everyone, welcome back to my channel. Everybody, it is the end of June. How are y'all going with your New Year's resolutions? I thought that I would check in today with the Midyear Freak Out Tag for the books that I've read so far this year. I had set myself a goal to read 35 books in 2025, and I also gave myself a list of the 25 books that I want to read in 2025. They're mainly just books that I already own, and I haven't actually read them, so I wanted to commit to sitting down and reading them this year. So overall, I've read 23 books of the 35 books that I want to read this year. Out of my 25 for 2025, I've read only 9 books. So I'm a little bit behind on the 25 for 2025, but I'm way ahead of schedule for my 35 overall reading challenge. Apologize because I don't actually know who originated this tag, but I saw a video from Carrie Can Read doing the Midyear Freak Out, and so I was inspired by that. I don't know who the originator was. I think it's been around for a while. I'm so sorry for not giving proper credit. But with that being said, a couple of these question prompts I am gonna alter a little bit to actually suit my answer and suit my actual reading habits, because some of these questions wouldn't really make sense to me and I have no answer for them. So I'll let you know which ones I do alter and how I've altered them. Question number 1 of the Midyear Freak Out Tag is the best book that I've read so far. So far in this year, I've only given out 3 5 stars to books that I've read. 2 of the other books I will end up mentioning in the other questions, but the one that I'll mention here as the best book that I've read this year was Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. I don't have a physical copy of it because I read it as a library ebook. This book is about a lesbian couple where one of them is I want to say she's a marine biologist, but she ends up going on this submersible expedition where she's only supposed to be away for 3 weeks, but something goes wrong and she ends up being under the sea, trapped in this submersible for 6 months. And I thought that it was really cool at building up the tension. So far, that is the best book that I've read this year. The next question here is the best sequel that I've read so far. I have not read that many books in a series. I think this year I've read books that are the first in a series, but I have no intention of going to their sequels or visiting the other books in their series anytime soon. Really, the only series that I've actually read is the Hunger Games series, and I read that for the first time ever this year, just last month actually. The other 2 sequels that are in that trilogy, I would say that Catching Fire was my favorite sequel, and then I felt The Mockingjay was just kind of a disappointing follow-up compared to the first 2. I feel like The Mockingjay kind of fell flat, and I've read those books back to back to back, so I imagine that you might have felt different when you were reading it 1 per year, 1 per year, 1 per year kind of thing, with the actual release schedule when you were a kid. But for me, reading it back to back to back, Mockingjay, Catching Fire. Catching Fire was great. I loved it. Question number 3, a new release that I haven't read yet, but I want to. I'll be honest with you, I'm not super up to date with new releases and stuff like that. Realistically, the only new release that's at the top of my mind is Sky Daddy by Kate Folk. Every review that I've seen or recap that I've seen of Sky Daddy, it's been people being don't let the cover fool you, I'm not reading smut. Essentially, you might see that cover and that title and you might think this must be about a little ingenue who falls for maybe a pilot or something like that, and because he has a weird schedule being a pilot, he takes out all his rage on this sweet little innocent girl and she calls him her Sky Daddy. But it's different, okay? It's a woman who's in love with the plane. And she's going to marry the plane. How will she marry the plane? By dying in a plane crash. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure if that is a spoiler of it, but I'm pretty sure that that is on the blurb of it. She is so obsessed with planes. She had her sexual awakening as a teenager on a plane, and now she wants to marry a plane by dying in a plane crash. I love that for her. Love that for her. Don't love plane crashes. I haven't wanted to commit to buying a copy of Sky Daddy and have that on my bookshelf whenever family and friends come over and they're girl, what the hell that? So I've been kind of waiting for a copy of it to come available at my local library so I could get an ebook of it and I can still read it in private. I don't know, they haven't gotten it in yet, so maybe I'll end up biting the bullet and actually buying it, but we'll see. we'll see. Question number 4 is my most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I don't have an answer for this. I'm not like, again, I'm not super up to date with like new releases or anything like that. They could be one of my favorite authors. They could be someone whose work I really, really love. If they drop a book, I'm none the wiser. Even when I looked at like Goodreads to see what's coming out as like new releases, stuff that's being like anticipated for the next couple of months to the end of the year, if I filter it by authors that I've already read before, I'm not enticed by any of them. Going through Goodreads just now, actually, there's one book that's coming up that says that it's going to be released in August. I have got to be honest, I'm judging it by its cover. I'm entirely intrigued, okay? It's called The Hounding by Zenobi Purvis. But look at them, there's like little whippets on the cover. Look at that, there's like little whippets on the cover. I think that's so freaking cute. And it says here that it's supposed to be The Crucible meets The Virgin Suicide in this haunting debut about 5 sisters in a small village in 18th century England whose neighbours are convinced they're turning into dogs. I will look forward to this book. Okay, there we go. Okay, question number 5 is my biggest disappointment of the year so far. I have 2 books of that. I have this one here, which is Orbital by Samantha Harvey. I talked about this in one of my reading monthly wrap-ups, but this Booker Prize winner, I don't understand how it won this. It's quite short, but it felt painful to read because it was so boring. This book felt like the equivalent of a 27-year-old man taking psychedelics and learning empathy that you as a woman have had since you were 12. This book was saying, guys, from space, countries have no borders, okay? And that was supposed to be like the most profound thing ever, but it wasn't. And I thought it was going to feel profound to read about, you know, experiencing grief when you're overseas from your loved ones, when you're not there to like experience it or like to witness them going, kind of thing. But it didn't say anything at all, and it was very disappointing. The second book that I have that is like one of my biggest disappointments, I feel so sad to say this, but it is Butter by Asako Yuzuki. Reading some of the other reviews, I think that this might have just been kind of mismarketed to a Western audience, because when I see this cover, I see the beef there, I see the blood, and then you read the blurb. A gourmet cook, Manako Kachi, sits in the Tokyo detention house convicted of the serial murders of lonely businessmen who she is said to have seduced with her delicious home cooking. Rika, the only woman in her news office, works late each night, rarely cooking more than ramen. As the visits unfold between her and Kachi, they seem closer to a masterclass in food than journalistic research. Rika hopes this gastronomic exchange will help soften the steely Kachi, but it seems that Rika might be the one changing. With each meal she eats, something is awakening in her body. Might she and Kaji have more in common than she once thought? I don't know who the hell wrote this blurb, and I'm not sure if, you know, this kind of same description is put on the original Japanese version. I feel like it is being marketed as a mystery novel, perhaps like a horror novel. Like when I read the blurb, I feel as if, is there going to be cannibalism? Is the journalist Rika going to be getting into murder as well? Like, let's just say that like none of that is in here. None of what I thought it was going to be is in here. Little bits, but not entirely. And so for that, it was a big disappointment. Question number 6, my biggest surprise. My biggest surprise so far, I don't know. Let's say Wicked by Gregory Maguire, because I was surprised that someone was able to find a musical out of that, okay? My favorite new author. Okay, this I don't really have an answer for, because I haven't really read that much of like one particular author. Realistically, like the only author that I've read multiple pieces of their work of this year has been Suzanne Collins, when I read The Hunger Games and the Sunrise, whatever. The 3 books that I've given my 5 stars to this year, it has been Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. I haven't read anything else by Julia Armfield, so I'm not sure whether or not she would be my favorite author. I'm definitely intrigued, and I would very much be interested in reading her other work, but like I haven't gotten to it yet, so I can't say if she's a favorite yet. The other book that I gave a 5-star to is this one here, which is Dalagut Dream Department Store by Mihi Lee. The thing about this one, though, is that it is a translated work, so it's translated from Korean by Sandy Jusun Lee. Again, this is like the first book that I've read from Midyear Lee, or the first translated work that I've read from Sandy Jusun Lee. So I don't know whether or not they would be like my favorite authors or like collaborators in a way. And then the third 5-star that I've given has been to Tree of Codes here by Jonathan Safran Foer. And I have definitely read Jonathan Safran Foer before, and I've definitely liked it in the past. I think it would need to be something that I do revisit to say whether or not I do actually like him. But this book is, I've talked about it before, it's a remix work. So he's taken, you know, an existing book, Street of Crocodiles by Bruno Schultz, and he's cut out words. So I gave it a 5-star because it was like an interesting book and an interesting read when I first read through it. But I guess the argument is there. Did he actually write these words? Is he my new favorite author? I don't know. I don't have a new favorite author. Do people regularly find new favorite authors? Question number 8 is my newest fictional crush. Okay, hear me out. This one feels like a crime. I don't really read that much like romance kind of fiction or anything to do with romance, so like I don't really form crushes on any of the characters because none of them are supposed to be romantic. One of the only books that I've read so far that had like romance in it that also made me feel like kicking my feet was The Ministry of Time by Kellyanne Bradley. Yes, okay, I did have like a little bit of a kicking my feet, okay, moment thinking about Commander Gore. And then I got to the very back fucking page and I found out that Commander Gore was a real person. What? What do you mean I've been fantasizing about like real life person fan fiction, okay? Ew, that feels weird. This man has been dead for years and he died in a horrific way. Like I said, it was like a crush on a character that felt like a crime, okay? I'm not proud of it. Once I found out that he is a real person, I stopped crushing on it and I was like, get to the end, get to the end. Let this man rest in peace, please. Question number 9 is my newest favorite fictional character. Let's just say Buttercup from Hunger Games, okay? I don't feel as if I get like attached to fictional characters in books. Maybe that question is better suited for people who do read series, where you get more of a look into a character, where a character can become more favorable, where I feel like any books that I read about a character, it's going to be a character study and that person is the worst person you've ever met. Question number 9 is a book that made me cry. For this, I have 2 books in here, okay? So I do have Delegate Dream Department Store and I have Before the Coffee Goes Cold. This one, it only made me cry in like one section. If you've read this one before, it's the letter that the husband is like too afraid to give to his wife. That one made me sob, okay? Delegate as well, the part that made me cry was the dreams. Any of the dreams. Okay, that is like actually the most unintentionally funny thing that I've ever said. To say that the dream part of Delegate Dream Department Store made me cry when the whole book is about dreams. What I meant to say was the dream ordering from like people who have died, like the grandma who ordered the dream, the daughter who ordered a dream, and the mum who was like ordering a dream, okay? The dream ordering pre-grief kind of dreams, those are the ones that made me sob. Not all of the dreams made me sob. Fuck, that's so stupid. So I think it might just need to be like magical realism to kind of make me cry or make me kind of sob in a book, but these 2 did it pretty well. A book that made me happy, what the hell? What the hell is this question? I think like the only thing that I guess has made me happy might have been the Rachel incident. Like the book itself didn't make me happy, but I feel like the ending felt as if like it was like a happy ending kind of thing. It kind of wrapped it up in a little bow for Rachel and friend. Nearing the end, this is the second to last question. This is question number 12. But the most beautiful book that I've bought so far this year. We need to have a chat. Is this Midyear Freak Out Tag supposed to, have you recap how you felt about the books that you've read so far, or is this just supposed to be like consume, consume, consume? Like, what are we doing here? Okay, I don't know. I haven't really bought that many books this year, and even then, I'm not buying like beautiful editions of books because I don't care. miss me with that kind of bullshit. Instead, let me just show you the books that I bought recently on a recent trip to the shop, and you'll see that they are kind of ugly versions of the books. I bought them because of the utility of it, okay? So I have this one here. This is a Penguin Books edition of Donna Tartt's A Secret History. Listen to the audiobook of this last year, but it was read by Donna Tartt, and Donna Tartt sounded annoyed by her own fucking story. So I wanted to purchase it and read it because I don't need a fancy, pretty copy of it. I just need a copy of it. I have this one, which is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This one says that it's been translated by Gregory Rabassa. I don't know if that's like the common translated edition. This is the Monk and Robot series. So it is a Psalm for the Wild Built and a Prayer for the Crown Shine. And when I got this copy is like both of them put together. So it's, you know, 2 books in one, but it's quite thin. I think separately there was something like $22 each for, like, you know, the individual pretty ones. Or I could get this version where it's one for $29. Anyway, I've read the first book like a couple of years ago, A Psalm for the Wild Built. Whenever I do want to pick this up, I'll probably reread A Psalm for the Wild Built. And then also I bought this guy, which was Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. I remember this book being referenced a lot when I was in year 12 back in 2012. I think in like year 12 we were doing Frankenstein and Blade Runner, and this book apparently became Blade Runner. So I'm very excited to read this one day. Don't know when I'll read it, but I want to. The 5th book that I bought, again, is not beautiful. Who the hell is this guy? But this is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I feel like everyone talks about this guy. So my local library and the state library both had like 6 weeks kind of waits on this. And so I was like, fuck it. I saw it in the store and I bought it. Again, it's not beautiful, but I'm not buying a book for beauty. Why are people buying books for beauty? Final question for this tag is, what books do I need to read by the end of the year? So the books that I do need to read for the end of the year are the rest of my 25 for 2025 books. Like I said, I've only read 9 of them so far, but there are a bunch of them that I do need to read through still. But yeah, those are the books that I want to read out of like the 25 for 2025, and I think for the remainder of the year I should probably try to focus on those books. Anyway, that is the end of my mid-year freak out tag. I hope you enjoy this video. Please let me know how you're doing with your reading goals, whether or not you do want to read like a specific amount of books or specific books in general. Let me know how you're doing with that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of me. I would love to have you here. But if not, that's fine. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!